For a single filler in 2026, up to $109,000 of income, you pay the standard premium. $1 over that line, not $1,000. $1, and your premium jumps by $81 a month. That is almost $1,000 more for the year. And it climbs from there all the way to nearly $690 a month at the top. One ordinary 401k withdrawal can raise your Medicare premium by almost $1,000 a year and tax your Social Security on top. Well, here's what almost nobody tells you. It's not how much you save that decides your retirement taxes. It's the order you take the money out and the timing. So today, the order most people get backward and the two traps hiding in it, the Social Security tax torpedo and the Medicare cliff. That premium jump is not hypothetical. It happened to a couple who did everything right, 40 years saving, no debt, retired at 66. One year, they pulled a big chunk from their 401k for the kitchen and a grandkid's school, and it crossed the line they didn't know existed. Get that order right, and you keep more of your own money. Get it backward, and you hand the government a tip it never asked for. Just the government's own numbers. One simple picture, and this is education, not advice. Hi, I'm Hanh Brown, the creator of the AI brain and the Medicare brain. And this is the Hanh Brown Show. And I go one level deeper on the decisions that actually move the needle after 50. So let me start with a simple picture, because everything else hangs on it. Think of your retirement money as sitting in 3 different buckets. The first bucket is your taxable money, a regular savings or brokerage account. You already pay tax on the money going in, so when you pull it out, you only owe a little tax, usually just on the growth. The second bucket is your tax-deferred money, your traditional 401k and the traditional IRA. This is the big one for most people, and you never pay tax on this money, not the contribution, not the growth. So every single dollar you pull out counts as income and gets taxed. The third bucket is your tax-free money, a Roth. You already paid the tax, and now it grows and comes out completely tax-free. 3 buckets. Tax a little, tax a lot, tax never. Hold that picture, because the whole game is about which bucket you empty first and when. Now here is a mistake that feels natural and quietly costs the most. Most people leave that big middle bucket, the tax-deferred 401k, sitting untouched as long as they possibly can. It feels responsible. You're letting it grow. You are not paying tax yet. The problem is that the government does not let that bucket sit forever. And there's a rule. The IRS says, in plain language, that you generally must start pulling money out of your traditional retirement accounts when you reach the age 73. It's called a required minimum distribution, an RMD, and the age rises to 75 in 2033. The word to notice there is required. It is not a suggestion. If you skip it, the penalty is steep, historically as much as 25% of the amount you should have taken, though it can drop to 10% if you catch it and fix it quickly. And here's a part that surprises people. That required amount is not small. It does not stay flat. It climbs every single year you age. At 73, the IRS makes you pull out about 3.8% of your balance. By 80, it is closer to 5%. By 85, over 6%. By 90, more than 8%. And by 95, over 11% of your balance in a single year, whether you need the money or not. So think about what that means for the couple who left the big bucket untouched. They did not avoid the tax. They just got pushed it down the road and made it bigger. Now, in their 70s and 80s, the IRS is forcing larger and larger taxable withdrawals right when they have the least flexibility to manage them. The honest way to say it, a traditional 401k is not really all your money. It's your money minus a tax bill you have not paid yet. And the longer you wait, the more of it comes due at once. So now, why does one big forced withdrawal matter so much? Because of two trap doors that open when your income goes up. And most people have never heard of either one until they fall through. Here's the first trap. Your own Social Security check can become taxable. The government looks at something it calls your provisional income. In plain English, that's your other income plus half of your Social Security. Cross certain lines, and a chunk of your Social Security benefit itself becomes taxable. So let me show you those lines because this is where it gets outrageous. For a single person, once your provisional income crosses $25,000, up to half your Social Security becomes taxable. Cross $34,000, and up to 85% of it is taxable. For a married couple, the lines are $32,000 and $44,000. So now here's the outrageous part. Those lines were written in 1983 and 1993. And unlike almost everything else in the tax code, they were never adjusted for inflation. They have not moved over 40 years, so a middle-income retiree today lands above them almost automatically. A big 401k withdrawal shoves you further over and drags more of your Social Security into the taxable column with it. So watch what is happening. You pull from the big bucket, then raises your income. That higher income reaches back and taxes your Social Security check too. One move, two taxes. And there is a second trap door, a little further up. This one is about Medicare, and it is the one that hit our couple. Your Medicare premium is not the same for everyone. Above a certain income, you pay a surcharge on that. Medicare calls it IRMAA. The standard 2026 Part B premium is $202.90 a month. But cross the first income line, and it jumps. And I want you to really see the shape of this one because it's not a gentle slope, it's a cliff. For a single filler in 2026, up to $109,000 of income, you pay the standard premium. $1 over that line, not $1,000. $1, and your premium jumps by $81 a month. That is almost $1,000 more for the year. And it climbs from there all the way to nearly $690 a month at the top. And here is the cruel timing. The premium you pay this year is based on your tax return from 2 years ago. So a one-time withdrawal you made at 71 can raise your Medicare premium at 73, long after you have forgotten about it. That is the letter our couple got. One big pull from the wrong bucket at the wrong time, tripped the cliff. So let me put rough numbers on it. And to be clear, this is an illustration. Say a single retiree already has about $40,000 of income from a pension and part of their Social Security. They're living comfortably below the Medicare cliff. Then one year, they pull an extra $75,000 out of the traditional 401k for a new roof and a big anniversary trip. That single move can push them over the $109,000 line. So on top of the ordinary income tax on that $75,000, more of their Social Security gets dragged into the taxable column, and their Medicare premium 2 years later jumps by close to $1,000. None of that was a punishment for doing anything wrong. It was just the order and the timing working against them. Spread that same $75,000 across 3 quieter years in their late 60s instead, and most of that extra cost simply never happened. Same spending, same person, a very different tax bill. So let me be careful here, because I don't want you to walk away scared, and I don't want you to walk away thinking taxes are something to panic about. Both of these traps are real, and both of them are avoidable with a little planning. Those two things are true at the same time. So let me give you a general shape of the smarter order, not a rule for your exact situation. That is between you and the tax person, and the shape most planners start from. The idea is to fill up the low tax brackets early in the quiet years instead of getting forced into the high ones later. Stage 1. The early retirement years, say from when you stop working until 73. This is your window. Your income is naturally lower because Social Security and before the RMDs, many people spend from the taxable bucket first here. And this is the key move: deliberately make some money out of the big tax-deferred bucket on purpose while your bracket is low. Some convert a bit of it to Roth. You're choosing to pay a little tax now and a low rate to shrink the forced withdrawals later. Stage 2. From 73 on, the RMDs begin. Because you spent the early years shrinking that middle bucket, the required amount is smaller, so it does less damage to your Social Security taxes and your Medicare premium. Stage 3. The tax-free Roth bucket is often the one you touch last or leave to your family because it keeps growing tax-free and it does not count toward any of the income lines we just talked about. And that last point is the quiet superpower of the Roth bucket. Money you pull from it does not show up in your provisional income, so it does not push your Social Security into a taxable column, and it does not count toward the Medicare cliff either. So in a year when you are trying to stay under the line, the Roth is the one bucket you can tap without moving your income needle at all. So that's exactly why slowly filing it during the low tax years can pay you back for the rest of your life. So you're not just saving on today's tax rate, you're buying yourself a pool of spending money later that is invisible to every one of these traps. Taxable first, tax deferred. On purpose is the low years, tax-free last. That is the order most people get backward because the natural instinct is the exact opposite. Protect the 401k, spend it last, and get ambushed by the RMDs in the two cliffs. So let me pull this all the way back to your actual life because that's the only thing that matters here. You don't need to become a tax expert. You need to know that the order and the timing are the lever you control, and the quiet years between retiring and 73 are the most valuable and most wasted planning window there is. So here is one thing to do this week. Find out roughly what is in each of your three buckets. How much is the taxable account? How much is in traditional tax-deferred account? And how much is in Roth? Just the three numbers. Most people have never written them down side by side, and you cannot plan the order until you can see the bucket. Then if the middle bucket is the big one, that is your signal to sit down with a tax professional before you're 73 years old and ask one question. Should I be pulling from this on purpose now while my bracket is low to avoid the forced withdrawals and the cliffs later? That single conversation in your 60s can be worth more than any investment pick. So what I would tell anyone in my family is very simple. Do not just admire the balance in your 401k. Remember there is a tax bill hiding in it, and you get to choose, within limits, when to pay it. Choosing on purpose in low years beats being forced in the high almost every time. Well, thanks for tuning in. I'm Hanh Brown. The best way to not miss what's next, the Social Security brain works especially in the newsletter link below. I'll see you in the next one.